We all love the idea of planting trees. It feels so simple, doesn't it? Just put a seed in the ground, give it some water, and boom, a tree grows. But what if you want to build an entire forest? One that's going to last for generations? Well, as it turns out, that's a whole different ballgame. It's pure science. So let's get into it. To help us understand this, we're going to be looking at an incredible guide, the Manual of Afforestation in Nepal. Now, don't let the name fool you. This is not some dusty old textbook. Think of it more like a detailed, scientific blueprint, a step-by-step instruction manual for how to build a living, breathing ecosystem from scratch. And it's all based on decades of serious research. Which really gets us to the big question, right? Forget about planting one tree in the backyard for a second. What does it really take to build an entire forest from nothing? Well, as this manual shows us, the answer starts long before you even pick up a seed. It starts right under our feet. Yeah, it all begins with the secrets hidden in the soil. A forest is only going to be as healthy as its foundation, and that foundation is the soil. And it's this incredibly complex, living world of texture and chemistry and structure. Okay, so first up, let's talk about soil texture. This is basically just what the soil is made of. Imagine you scoop up a handful of dirt. The texture is just the mix of 3 different sized particles. You've got the big, gritty bits of sand, the medium, kind of smooth silt, and the super, super fine clay particles. So, how do scientists figure this out? Well, they use this, the soil texture triangle. I know, it looks a little complicated, but it's actually a pretty brilliant tool. All you do is find your percentage of sand on the bottom, silt on the right, and clay on the left. And wherever those 3 lines cross, that's your soil type. Simple as that. So what's the sweet spot? What's the perfect mix we're looking for? Well, according to the manual, it's right there in the middle. It's a type of soil called loam. It's got that perfect balance of sand, silt, and clay that most plants just absolutely love. It's not too dense, not too loose, it's just right. All right, on to the next secret, soil acidity. This one sounds super technical, but it's really just about how acidic or how alkaline the soil is. And we measure that on something called the pH scale. It's a pretty simple scale, actually. Anything with a pH below 7 is considered acidic. Think vinegar or lemon juice. And anything above a 7 is alkaline or basic, kind of like baking soda. And that magic number right in the middle, 7, is perfectly neutral, just like pure water. And trust me, this balance is absolutely crucial because different plants are incredibly picky about where they'll grow. And this is where it gets really interesting, because you can see this play out in the real world. In a place like Nepal, the pH is totally different depending on where you are. Down in the low-lying Terai plains, it's pretty neutral, but start climbing into the middle hills and the soil gets more acidic. Go even higher and it can get really acidic. And then you have places like the Mustang area, which can be quite alkaline. A tree that loves one zone would completely fail in another. And our last little soil secret here is infiltration capacity. A simpler way to think about it is, how well does the soil act like a sponge? When it rains hard, can the soil soak all that water up, or does the water just run right off the top, taking precious soil with it? Sandy soils drink up water fast, but dense clay soils are way slower. And for a tree, this can be the difference between life and death. So once you've done all your homework on the soil, what comes next? Well, now you've got to face the challenge of putting the right tree in the right place. Because if you get this part wrong, all that hard work you just did, it means nothing. You just can't plant any old tree anywhere and expect it to work. And the manual gives us some perfect examples of this. The Chur pine, for instance, does great in those slightly acidic soils you find in the middle hills. But if you try to plant a leucaena tree there, it's going to have a really tough time because it just hates very acidic soil. And then you have something like a rhododendron, which can actually prefer those more alkaline conditions. See, it's all about matchmaking. Okay, this is all great as a big picture idea, but let's bring it down to earth. What does this level of detail actually look like for one single specific tree? Let's find out by looking at one tree's story. We're going to zoom way in on a really fascinating tree called the kapok. So check this out. This is the actual page from the manual for the kapok tree. I mean, just look at that. It's like the tree's biography. It details everything, what it looks like, where it came from, exactly how to grow it, and even what it's used for. This is the kind of homework we're talking about from every single species. So let's pull out some of the cool facts. It's a big, beautiful tree, probably from South America, and it's got these really cool pricky stems. Its most famous feature, though, is this pod that's filled with a fluffy, cotton-like fiber. And get this, a single kilogram of its seeds contains around 16,000 potential new trees. That is just incredible.
And what I love is that the manual doesn't just stop at the biology, it covers the tree's connection to people. That fluffy stuff, the kapok, is its main claim to fame. It was used to fill everything from pillows to life vests. But the timber is also super strong for its weight, and different parts of the tree are used in medicine. And in Nepal, it even has religious importance and is often planted near temples.
So, what do we take away from all this incredible detail? Where does it leave us? Well, it brings us to a pretty powerful conclusion. Knowledge takes root. Really, it all boils down to this. A healthy, successful forest isn't just born out of good intentions. It's born from knowledge. To grow a forest that's actually going to thrive, you first have to do the homework. You have to understand the soil, the climate, and the unique needs of every single tree you put in the ground. And that kind of leaves us with one last big thought. You know, we hear all the time about planting trees, billions, even trillions of them. It's a huge global focus. But as we've seen, just sticking them in the ground isn't enough. So the real question becomes, in a world so focused on the number of trees we plant, how much are we really thinking about planting them right?